Hi everyone, this is Val from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another sparkling beading video. But before I get started, here's a quick reminder to check out our channel, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and notification bell to get notified every time we have a new posting. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about these agates. Now these are agate slices. They are natural, from natural stone, and they are cut and then they're polished and tumbled to make it look so pretty, just like this. But all of these colors and banding of color are all natural, and you'll find that there are going to be so many different combinations and shades. Some could be more amber color, some could be more gray or brown. It just depends. But it's very common for for agates to have this dark rim around, just like this too, like a darker rim, and then lighter as it goes inside. That's pretty common, and some might even have a druzy inside of it. So it kind of starts off as a rock like this, but of course these came from a much larger rock. And when they slice them, you can see that the nice agate right here on the outside. This one has some amethyst growing in there, but it's pretty cool, right? It just comes from these little rocks. Anyway, I have seen these where at weddings or at parties, they'll use a pen, a marker, like a paint marker, and use a scripty, pretty font, and they write names on them or words. And you can use them just like that or as a magnet. Now, what I like to do with them is I like to wrap wire around them. So today I'm going to show you how to do a fun and fancy wire wrap. So this is kind of like what I did with some of the pieces. And you see this one has a druzy right in the center. It has a little sparkle. Okay, so what we're going to use today, I'm going to use this round shape, because I feel like the round is one of the hardest shapes to use. The ovals and the long ones to me are a little easier, just because I feel like there's more area to grab. So I'm going to start off with a piece of wire that is 22 gauge, and I'm using about 1.5 yards, depending on the size of your stone. If your stone is much larger, you could use maybe even up to 2 yards or so. So find your center of your wire, and now you're going to take your tool, a round nose tool, and we're going to wrap the wire right on the largest part of the cone, on around it 2 times to make a double loop circle. So I'm going to go once and once more. So you see how it creates that circle? So now I'm just going to put my pliers together and kind of give them a little squish together to make sure that they are close together. All right, so now it looks like this. This side and this side. Okay, so take our flat nose plier and we're going to hold this eye loop and turn the wire close to right around that where that loop is, where it starts. Turn the wire right here where it starts, and we are going to twist 2 times with our fingers. We will go 3 times. So you see right here, it just has that little twist right there. Okay, so now we're going to take our next tool, which most people should have at home, is a Sharpie pen, and this is the regular fine point pen. And we're going to use this tool to wrap our wire to make our loops. So I'm going to just insert from the bottom up, right as close as I can to my first set of twists. Then I'm going to hold my pen with my thumb and my pointer finger from this hand, and with my left hand I'm going to twist this wire here so it gives a little crisscross right here. And then I'm going to hold my wire tight, and my right hand I'm going to use this to twist my pen 3 times. So that was 1, 2, and 3 times. So I can take out my pen and it looks like this. I'm going to continue this. So again, 1 inside, my pen inside, then cross my wire, hold the wire tight, and with my fingers I'm going to spin my pen. That was 1, 2, and 3 times. Let me do one more for you. Okay, so pen in, crisscross my wire. And you want to make sure that your wire on the bottom is not getting all tangled up there. So just undo them, and then so again, crisscross your wire, and your pin. Spin 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so far it looks like this, and don't worry about it if at this point your wires don't look very pretty. We're just going to continue this all the way down until we hit maybe about, I don't know, 10 or 12 of these circles, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I have my wires all twisted with the round loops from my Sharpie pen. So now what I'm going to do is I want to wrap my wire around my agate slice just to kind of roughly make sure that we have the right amount, that we have enough to go just about all the way around. So just quickly just lay it around just to make sure. Looks like I could probably use one more, maybe right about here. So just in case, I'm going to do one more wrap. Okay. All right, so now I want to take my wires and I kind of want to make my circles a little bit straighter. So I'm just going to just quickly just bend them so that they're kind of lined up. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, but you kind of want them all to be faced up. Like you don't want it to look like this. So just kind of work the wire a little bit. If you have to twist it around, you could certainly do that also. Okay, so I think we're good now. So you can decide where you want the top to be. So I decided, well, you can work from here, or you can work at a long flatter part, or at this more domed. It's up to you, but I think I want to work with it here. So I'm going to just quickly lay my piece here. I'm going to bend my hook on the little loop that I first created, and as I'm placing it onto the side, I want to press down these little frames and frame it around my agate slice. And this is going to hold your agate slice in, and so that you can create your pendant. Just squish down so you notice that one side is on one end and the other side is on the back side. So one in the front, one in the back, and just keep pressing. Okay. Okay, so it turns out I didn't need that one extra one that I did after all, so I can easily just now untwist it. Okay, so right here, I'm going to take my last link and I'm going to just wrap that wire around this eye loop as best I can. So just taking this and just wrapping it right around the neck of that loop. All the while, you need to make sure you're holding down very firmly the wire to your frame so that it doesn't come loose. All right, so here is my wire from around. Now, if I was to leave it like this, it may or may not stay. So what I would do is I'm going to create another design to my wire just so that it can hold up better. So the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of decide how I want my wires to lay. So I think I want to maybe, instead of just dragging my wires down straight, I might want to go across in a different diagonal just to give it a different look. So I'm going to take another tool that I have is a Sharpie pen, which is now the extra fine point pen. And I'm going to take this, this pen and wrap the wire around maybe 3 or 4 times. And then push it all together. Now from here, you can drag and pull your wires down. And it gives you this kind of wavy look. And then from here, you can either use it just the way it is by just smashing it down. Just kind of give it a little crimp. So as you're doing that, sometimes it just naturally forms these little loops. And you can spread them apart, or you can leave them straight, or you can just have waves just by pushing them down. You kind of just let the wire work and your fingers just kind of just do whatever happens, and usually it comes out pretty cool. But you can think of a more methodical way to do things as well. It's up to you. I'm a little bit more whimsical, so I like things more freeform, and I just kind of go with the flow. All right, so here I have my wires right here, and this part's doubled up, but I think I can spread it out a little bit more just by lifting it up and pulling it. That's kind of cool. I like that. So now to attach it, I will take one end of my wire, and now I'm going to slip it into this frame. One frame here, and start to pull it. So once you get it up to kind of close already to your frame, you make sure you hold the wires down that it's connected to, and you're going to pull this wire tight. I'm going to do that with the second one, and I'm using the flat nose plier to pull it tight. Okay, so just like this. Okay, so as we're pulling our wire tight, just make sure you're holding down. Again, just hold down your wire and just use your flat nose plier to pull your wires. There we go, nice and tight. So now it's kind of strong, it's not going anywhere. Flip your piece to the back, and now we're going to overlay our wires in the back. And from here you can decide whether you want a design like similar to the front or just straight across back. It's up to you. I'm going to do a little bit of a design just because I feel like, why not? I have some extra wire, so I'm going to do that. So from here, I'm going to start from the top and work down. And again, just wrap it around your little Sharpie pen. If you want a smaller swirls, you can use a smaller pen or a chopstick or whatever you have. Okay, so for here, I'm going to wrap. I'm not going to wrap. From here, I am going to just pull my wire apart and give this a little tuck. Just like that. I think I'm going to keep the back simple just because it is the back side. And you have to remember this is the part that goes around and in the back of your area you want. At your neck, you might want it not to be too bulky. Okay, so now we're going to put the end of our wire into this next linking here. And even as you're doing this, this is actually going to help pull your framing apart from each other so that it can actually have more strength. Okay, so pull it through. And again, make sure as you're pulling your wire through to connect it onto the wire frame that you hold down your area that you just placed. Okay. All right, so take your tool and just pull it again. Make it nice and tight. Now, of course, don't pull extra too hard because then you don't want your whole piece to fall apart as well. So just give it enough strength of a tug. I'm pulling it pretty tight here. But if you're super strong, then you want to just be a little bit more gentle. Okay, so from here, I have maybe a little bit more wire than I need. So I'm going to cut off some wire. Maybe, so I have right here, let's say 4 inches of wire. I'm going to cut off that little bit. Right here now I can make little swirls or designs. So I'm going to take my flat nose plier and I'm just going to start with a little loop circle there, like a little tiny swirl, and I'm just going to take my plier and I'm going to hold onto my wire flat and just kind of help feed it to make it a circle. So it kind of looks like a little pinwheel or a little swirl of wire. And you can make this swirl as big or as small as you want. So once I got my tool where I used it just the beginning to get a nice tight area, I always find it easier just to use my fingers. Unless, of course, you want it super tight, then you can make it tighter as well. So right here, I'm just going to press that down. I'm going to do the other side. We're going to do the same thing. So make a swirl, you're going to bend. And just help get it started with my flat nose plier. And once I've done that, I can just use my fingers. And then you can decide where you want it. You can either have it where it's sticking here, or you can bring it down. Often I do make it a little tighter, but I'm just kind of rushing right now. But you could leave it just like this as well. Okay, so now what I do is I just take my fingers, I just press everything down just to make sure it's nice and strong on there and nothing sticking up. So as you see, I have these little frame right around, wrap at the top, and I have some wiring in the middle. Okay, so what I did on one of my other projects that I did previously is I decided that I could just leave it like this, or I could add some beads to it. So on this particular piece, I added extra wire with some beads on it that kind of coordinated with my agate slice, something that would kind of bring out the color. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so I'm going to wrap my wire around here now. I have a piece of 26 gauge wire, and I want to anchor first my wire on. So the easiest place to anchor where it's strong is going to be right here, right where I did the first neck wrapping. So I'm going to slip my wire into the space. There's a tiny space right here, or anywhere onto my wires that I feel comfortable. So maybe I'm going to go into my wire. I'm going to go to my wire right here, and then I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, and then this and the long end I'm going to wrap around the neck just like this. I'm going to kind of sew in and out of my wire right here just to make sure I have it all locked and anchored. And I kind of want to bring my wire to right about here. So I'm just going to stitch around until I can get to my starter point. You can add beads here if you want, or you don't have to, just so it can go between the wires a little easier. Okay, and pull tight. So you see the wire here is just locked right here, our fine gauge wire, with our tail still sticking out on the end on the back. Okay, so I have a little set of beads that I have to play with that I pulled ahead of time. So I have some 5mm bicones in a crystal golden shadow. And I have this black spinel beads that we have with I believe it's a brown iris coating. And then a little bit of seed beads. It could be any kind of like a sandy color or a brown or amber color that you might want to use, just to use as highlights. So I'm going to use this piece of wire, and I'm going to add just a mixture of beads, and you can really just pull any combination of bead that you want. So let's see, I have some seed beads. I have 2 of this black spinel in the brown iris coating, which I think is so pretty, and the crystal bicone. So I'm just going to drop that down and lay it wherever I think. So I can either go on this outer rim or on this upper rim. So let's see which one looks prettier. Let's go on the bottom, on the lower rim on this one. Okay, so now I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to sew right into this, right back into this wire. Okay, so you see how it's kind of kinked right here? There's a little bit of a give. I want to make sure I'm going to pull it out without trying to kink it too much. So as I'm pulling my wire up, you're going to hold down the swirly part of your wire, the decoration part of your wire, and pull that tight. So see, now my wire is nice and tight. Now you want to always wrap at least once more around, because then it locks your beads from moving so much. Okay, so pull. Okay, now I can add my next set of beads. Let's do the same combination. So seed bead, spinel, and a bicone. All right, let's see. I think I can jump up to my top row from here. That looks kind of fun. Now I'm kind of just planning this as I go along. It's completely free form. The only thing that I pre-chose is the beads and the wire, and every one will come out a little different, which I'll show you after. Now the fun thing is the agate comes in other sort of more natural colors as well, like a really pretty gray tone. And the gray tone is really nice where you can really lend itself up to some silver wire, and I think that would look really pretty. Kind of give it a very soft romantic effect. So I'm just changing my bead pattern up just a little bit just because I felt like it. Okay, so from here I can decide where I want to put this bead. So I think I'm going to kind of follow my swirling that I started from the top. I swirled this way, then I went towards my left, and now I'm going to go towards my right. So again, you can bend your wire, kind of create like a little scoop of your wire. See how it's kind of scooped? I'm going to go right over here. So I just went into the next area that I could sew through, but maybe I will move it just a little bit more. There we go. So I'm just planning out where I want it. You can always move it as long as you didn't pull your wire tight. If you pulled your wire tight, then you'll have to kind of go back and try to take out some of the kinks as you go along. So again, hold your wiring that you worked on the fancy pattern part as you're pulling your thin wire with your small beads on them. Okay, so let's see. That is looking very pretty. So I can do maybe another one more section of beads. And it doesn't take a lot of beads. It kind of adds to it. I felt like it gave it a little bit more finished look. Okay. So right here I have my beads. And I'm just going to wrap my final piece of wire right over here. And pull it tight. One more time. So this is the 26 gauge wire. And now I need to finish off this little piece of wire here. So take your wire, your thin wire, and we're going to wrap it into one of your main frame wires. So you can figure out where the closest part is, whether you want to go down there or across. And if you wanted to add beads here, you certainly can add beads. You just kind of let your fingers, your mind, and the wire just tell you what to do. Get your creativity working. Okay, so I just locked it underneath, back again, under, from into the main wire, and up and out. So you're going to want to do this about 3 times just to make sure your wire is locked in well. And then as your wire gets shorter, then you could take your flat nose plier and pull it up tight. So once you have your 3 wraps, at least 3 wraps done, then you take your flat nose plier and give it a little trim. And then you take your tool, and always when you have your cut piece of wire, take your flat nose plier and give those sharp little ends a little squish, just to make sure you don't have anything pokey sticking up. Okay, so now with our long end on this side, we're going to also want to lock that wire in. And because it is a smaller piece of wire, I definitely want to use my pliers to help me pull out and pull tight my wire. Okay, so 3 times. Right. Cut off your excess wire. Take your flat nose plier and give the little pokey end a little trim. And remember, this is the back side of your pendant, so make sure you don't have any pokey, because it definitely either poke your garment or your neck. So just make sure that's nice and flat. Okay, so here is our finished piece, and I just wanted to show you with a couple others that I used slightly similar technique, but you notice how every piece just comes out a little bit different. And it really, like I said, you just let it happen. Just let the wire and your fingers do its magic. Now with this piece, I added on a strand of the black spinel because I just thought it matched so pretty with this agate slice. And then I added some of the crystal golden shadow and some bronze shade bicons as well. And it just makes a nice pendant. And then I saw this in my stash, which is the goldstone, which is a tiny, I think it's about a 2mm goldstone, which is also a gemstone. And I thought it looked beautiful with this amber color. So I think if I just restrung this on some soft flex, it would look absolutely gorgeous. And probably these strands are pretty, they're so cute and tiny. I would say for a pendant this size, you might use about 1.5 to 2 strands because you want this to be a slightly longer necklace. And look how cute that is. And this gold stone has this twinkle, and that twinkle will really bring out like this druzy, but you don't have to have the druzy, it's just super cute. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed your tutorial, and like always, you can find all these supplies and more on EurekaCrystalBeads.com, and the supplies we used today, you'll find in their comment section below.